What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are almost to the eve of the final day before regular season football starts. And as of this recording, no games have been played just yet. But we are so excited to bring you our 2025 edition of our NFL season predictions. So, Ian and I have done this the last 2 years, and we've been talking about doing this for such a long time. Honestly, we wanted to post these back in like June, but we just never came around to it. And now, we got 2 days left to do this. So, without further ado, I'm very excited to introduce my co host today here, Ian Leakey, who's been with me on multiple shows in the past. My name is Jake Podger. I'm here with Nickel City Mafia. Do a lot of Bills post game, pre game, all that good stuff. And if you haven't checked us out before, honestly, I just love ball. I love the Buffalo Bills, but I love football in general. So I felt like it was right for us to do an overall NFL prediction show, and that's kind of what we're doing here. So, first off, Ian, I know you've been excited to do this. Any surprises as you were going through the whole schedule and kind of seeing where teams stand?
I definitely think so. So more on that note, I've been absolutely dying to do this with you. I make these predictions like as soon as the draft is over, I start getting all excited, and we'll go through the entire thing once, and then a month later, I'll go through the entire thing again, and I just like
Yeah,
going through and just kind of making the clicks and seeing what has changed from month to month. But now that all the trades have kind of been finalized, the rosters have been finalized, we're done with preseason, we're going into it. I think it's safe to say that I like where I'm at with my predictions. Definitely had quite a few surprises. I'm not going to spoil too much or talk about it, too much, but I definitely would say that there has been some pretty big shifts dynamically between the different conferences. I think AFC has stayed pretty much the same, especially in the top tier, whereas in the NFC, I think there's going to be some pretty significant changes over the next 2 years. Where you're going to see some power ranking shift, and I'm just excited as hell to go through this with you.
oh yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, there were so many of these usual suspects, and I agree. I think the AFC is kind of in that boat, if you will. I think the division winners, for the most part, were pretty similar with my predictions, at least. But then you go over to the NFC, and the NFC, I feel like, is just the Wild West. I mean, you have your top tier teams, but then there's teams that are ready to be either dethroned or take the next step and kind of get back to where they were 2 years ago, even, such as like the San Francisco 49ers. I feel like they're going to come back and make a statement this year. And I do think for the first time in God knows how long, Christian McCaffrey, he's going to be fully healthy. He's going to play a full season. That's my bold prediction this year. I know it's crazy to say, and every single fantasy player is probably taking his handcuff, but this is just how it rolls, and the NFL never sleeps. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to start off here. I'm going to share my screen and just we're going to take a look at what I got going on. So, we use this website called Playoff NFL Playoff Predictor, and basically it allows you to go through game by game and select the winner of each game. So that's what I did, and I know I said I was a Buffalo Bills fan, and yes, of course, I'm going to be a little biased towards my team, but also I'm trying to be realistic at the same time. And I feel like last year, I predicted the Bills to go 12-5. Everyone laughed at me. They thought I was a psychopath. They ended up going 13-4 and having one of the best offensive seasons in their history. Actually, statistically, it was the best offensive season in their history in terms of points and all that good stuff. So I think this year, with their strength of schedule, even though there are, your tougher opponents kind of to start off with Baltimore, and then I think in November we play the Chiefs.
Yep.
Um, there's games in between there where we can string wins upon one another. And I'll tell you this, man, as long as we have JA17, there's always a chance to win. And more than likely, you will win the game. So I have the Buffalo Bills going 14-3. It's kind of crazy. I know you can chirp me all you want in the comments, but I think it's going to be a hell of a regular season for them. I think they're going to just carry over what they did from last year, the everybody eats mentality. We re-signed some really good key pieces of the franchise, and I know people are terrified of the secondary, this, that, and other. Well, guess where we got better? Up front. And that's super important because that's only going to help your secondary play more confidently, play a little bit better, and I think we're going to be better with our front six. we play a base nickel defense with those 2 linebackers, those 4 defensive linemen. It is going to be really special this year. And we've added some really good pieces. We've gotten guys that are now healthy. So I feel really good about this. 14-3 is my prediction for the Buffalo Bills. You go down, you look at New England. I have them as the number 2 team. Previous seasons, I've had the Dolphins as the team to beat in the AFC East outside of the Buffalo Bills. The Dolphins typically challenging the Bills for that number 1 spot. Not the case so much anymore. I think they are in kind of what we'd like to think of as maybe a last resort or a full-on rebuild. So I have them actually going 3-14, which is hilarious. And I didn't even mean to make it happen. I just was kind of going through the schedule and I'm like, have I given the Dolphins any wins? I don't know what it was. I just felt in my gut that they just weren't going to win a lot of games. I don't know. And 3-14 it is, New England, though, they're in a spot now where they've brought on some insane players. They got Mike Vrabel at the helm. I think they have done so much to help Drake May in terms of the offensive line, in terms of weapons, bringing in some young talent. That defense is absolutely stacked. So while I don't think they're actually going to be a playoff team, I think they're going to be right on the cusp there, and I think they're going to go 9-8 this year. So I have New England at 9-8. Then I finally have those New York Football Jets at 4-13. I don't know, man. Listen, I like Justin Fields. He was able to win some games last year in Pittsburgh and do some cool things. But to me, it's just, I don't know, the classic Jets are going to jet mentality, and I hate to be that guy, but I can't see it. There's going to be some growing pains, and I don't necessarily think it's going to be for the worst. I think they're going to be a 4-13 team this year, but they're going to get better next year as they build and they can bring in more of Aaron Glenn's guys, So I don't think you should be super down in the dumps if you're a Jets fan. I think you are going to go up from here, but it's going to be kind of a bumpy road to get there. So that's kind of how I have it, man. I don't know what you think, but actually, let's bring up yours for the AFC East. I'm kind of curious to see where your standings lie. So
Sure.
Let's do that right now. So talk to me. What do we got here?
Yeah, so as far as the Bills go, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I do think we will probably lose the one divisional game that we always lose. It's really hard to go 6-0 in the division.
It is.
And looking at the schedule, you talked about getting better up front, and I think the Bills clearly did that. The problem is that a lot of these younger guys are going to have to start early because of the suspensions. And that worries me a little bit because they weren't necessarily wowing me in the preseason. Luckily, if you look at the Bills' schedule this year, we start off with some pretty easy opponents aside from Baltimore. I mean, aside from Baltimore, you got the Jets, the Dolphins, who I think both of us agree are not going to be terribly competitive this year. Then the Saints. The Patriots might give you a run for their money, the Falcons, and then the Panthers before the rest of the schedule starts to ramp up a little bit. So by the time you get to week 9, those suspensions are over with. The younger players have gotten some experience getting out there, and that front 6 there will be much more deadly towards the back half of that season in the games where it really matters. So I think 13 wins is a good spot to put them. As far as the Patriots go, exact same thing as you. I think 9-8, probably going to miss the playoffs just barely. I have them at a 3-3 divisional record. My main concern for them is everyone's talking about the development of Drake May. The dude went. What was his final record as a quarterback? 1-8, 1-9. And my big concern is who is he throwing the ball to? I mean, I know that Stephon Diggs is there, but this is a dude that is coming off a significant ACL injury at age 31. Which I think the older you get, the harder it is to come back from those injuries. You see it time and time again with both receivers, quarterbacks, anyone when it comes to like a serious knee/Achilles injury. It takes probably 2 years to fully get back to your game self from that. And, how much is his production really going to go up from here? Probably not much. And to be honest, he really hasn't had a very significant injury throughout most of his career up until last year. Yeah. So we don't know how he's going to fully recover from that. And if he's, I don't know if that pink substance he was doing is going to help. I don't know if that's some sort of revolutionary regenerative drug that we don't know about, but I just don't see it revitalizing his career is all I'm saying. And yes, they did get a lot of great free agents. I think it beefs up a lot, and I also think they had a very underrated draft. Will Campbell in the draft
Agreed.
is going to be a monster of a player. I really like Kyle Williams, the receiver that they got, but he is slated right now as like fourth string on their depth chart. He's below Mac Hollins, so that's not exactly great. Really like Joshua Farmer. Doesn't have to go out there and start right away, but like I do like their team, and I do think they'll be competitive. I think 8-9, 9-8 is more where I'm going to see them. As far as the Jets go, I feel the same as you, but I don't know if you noticed this, Jake, but there seems to be a trend where teams really don't like the idea of like fully rebuilding. They like the half rebuild, like the Browns, right? You could have let Myles Garrett go, saved you some extra money, try to get out of the Deshaun Watson deal, just tank for a couple of years. That doesn't really happen anymore. They still are trying
Yeah.
to be competitive. Let's re-sign Myles Garrett to the highest contract for a defensive player at the time. Not anymore, unfortunately. Let's go out and get Joe Flacco. Let's get these couple of rookies, but they're all backup rookies. We don't have to worry about it necessarily right away, right? Let's continue to like beef up this offensive line that has been so dominant for them. It seems like full rebuilds aren't really a thing. If you look at the Jets defense, it is still really good. I mean, you still have a pretty damn good defensive line. You still got Sauce Gardner, who I know took a significant step back, but the dude's played in the league for 3 years. You know, it's bound to happen once or twice throughout a career of a guy who's really good, and I think that there's still a good chance for him. I will say this: I think you're going to notice a big shift in how their offensive philosophy goes, because obviously with Justin Fields, you're going to run the ball more. My big worry with that is, I still don't really get the Breece Hall love necessarily. I don't know if the guy is like. I just think statistically he has not really ever brought it in the 3 years that he's played. And for a running back, time is ticking. Is he gonna break out and become a 1,000-yard rusher, or is this just gonna be another Alvin Kamara, who is a very good player, but he needs way more on that offensive side of the ball to help him, be recognized as a great running back. Whereas Alvin Kamara obviously had Drew Brees at the beginning of the year. Those Saints teams were dynamic. Well, these Jets
Alvin
teams
Kamara also would score touchdowns. Like that's the biggest difference. Is
that's
like,
also very true. And Breece
can't
Hall
find the end zone. His yards per carry's low. Like there's just so much else,
Yeah, all of it combined just doesn't look good for me. But I still think that they're going to be much more competitive than maybe you would say. That's why I'm giving them a 7-10, probably 6-11, 7-10 sort of record. And then the Dolphins, man, I am in complete lockstep with you. I just see this team as like there's drama already building. The coach is talking about how death is inevitable or whatever the hell Mike McDaniels was saying that one day. Did you see that press conference?
I saw that. Yeah,
we all die someday or something. I was like, man, what a message you're sending to your team if you're the head coach. Devon Achane is already banged up. We all know about what's going on with Tua. And to be honest with you, they did not do enough on that offensive line to really shore it up. And Tyreek is talking about leaving, and there's just a lot of
that cornerback room.
That cornerback room is disgusting. Although they did sign Rasul Douglas,
they did.
That is something. I still can't believe that Asante Samuel Jr. sits out there in free agency and has not gotten a phone call or of any sort. It doesn't make any sense to me. Hell, even Justin Simmons would be great for this team. I mean, to pair with Minkah Fitzpatrick, that would be great. I will say this about the Dolphins: they had a sneaky good draft. I love Kenneth Grant. I think he's a beast.
Oh, me too. I was very disappointed when they took him. Yes.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there too. I really like him. I think Jalen Wright will be a good running back as well. And then that guard, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, Jonah Savanaia. Is that it?
Yeah, that's right.
Something like that. He's going to apparently start for them. So this is a big deal to see if it really shores up their offensive line at all. But to be honest with you, man, I think this is kind of like the calm before the storm. And I would say Mike McDaniels of all the head coaches is the most on the hot seat for this year, especially in the AFC. It just seems like if you're not going to get it done this year, man, I think it's time for a bit of a change there. But yeah, I think 4-13. I think you said you had them at 3-14. Is that correct?
I did.
I did. I'm looking right now at just like what I did for their schedule, because the thing you brought up was I was going through their schedule and I just couldn't find a win. And I'm looking at the teams they got to face, and honestly, I have them going 2-0 to start the season, but
then it just drops.
It just drops off, man. And I just don't see how they pick up any more wins. I do have a sneaky win against against the Bucks in Week 17, and I think I put that in there as kind of like a pity win. Like,
You
there's
got to
always
have
weird.
those.
Yeah, you got to have weird stuff like that occasionally. I mean, maybe the Bucks are resting their starters that game.
Right.
I'd be a crazy
Very
move,
well
but
could be.
you never know. You never know.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
oh, and they got a game in Spain this year.
Oh,
See,
that's right.
nobody wants to do that stuff. So
I hate that. Can I just say this right now? We were talking before the show here how practice squads have gotten so much bigger and how, like, man, shoot, you go back to like 2004 where it was a big deal because practice squads went from 5 players to 8 players, but it was so limited because they also had NFL Europe. And
right.
a ton of stars were discovered over in NFL Europe. I mean, you're talking about one of ours truly, Fred Jackson, played for the Cologne Centurions, and then, the Kurt Warners, the Jake Delomes, the Adam Vinatieri's. I mean,
Hey,
the
JT
list goes.
O'Sullivan was a NFL
JT
Europe star.
O'Sullivan, freaking Jabron Hamden, our boy. Just so many names that were able to be developed over there in Europe. Can we bring that back? And I know they have the European League of Football that is actually doing pretty well. I've been watching a lot of that. What's his name? Reed Sinnett has his own YouTube channel.
Reed Sinnett,
Check that
yeah.
out. He does vlogs. He plays for the Madrid Bravos, which is awesome. So fun to watch. Former Dolphins quarterback, by the way, who killed it in one of those preseason games. I think he threw like a Hail Mary at the end of the game and won it for him, which is incredible. But getting off track a little bit here. Can we stop with the international regular season games? I get it. You're trying to spread the brand. You're trying to spread awareness. Let's do that in the preseason. I'm so sick and tired of these regular season games going overseas, happening overseas. The players don't love it. I mean, sure, it's a cool little vacation, but as far as jet lag goes, everything else, so much goes into your body and how you prep. You're already on a short clock as it is going into these games. And, most of the time you got less than, 6 full days of rest typically. So I don't like the international games. I think if anything, if you're going to build a brand, you could build it with the NFL still by doing preseason games over there. On top of that, you can still do your thing with NFL Europa, NFL Europe, Go back to that method. And I know they were losing money, but guess what? The NFL, they could deal with it, right? I mean,
They can
this is just
absolutely
me
deal
being
with it.
selfish as a fan. I know it's never going to happen, but I just can't stand it. You're taking away a home game for a team. Like, there's just so much that goes into it, and not a fan at all of the international games. I'll say that right now, loud and clear.
Well, more to your point too, I think there's been a call recently about developing quarterbacks because you seem to be having a huge issue with that in this league. I mean, outside of the top four, any one of the other ones could very soon be a bust or maybe be up there. Who knows? I mean, outside of Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Pat Mahomes, and Joe Burrow, it seems like even the ones that were, considered great are usually great because of the teams they have around them. And I think you see more and more that there's been a real struggle to develop players. I think having an NFL Europe league would be great. And I know that obviously the biggest issue with that is, well, the problem is because injuries are so frequent in the NFL and that they can really deter a career that they're worried about, ruining someone's potential because of that. But baseball's been dealing with that for years.
Yeah, they have.
As a as a sports league that has to endure countless Tommy John surgeries and all the sorts of things that they have to deal with. Bright stars flame out because of those sorts of things. I think that there's probably a way you could handle it without like overusing a player, like giving a guy 30 carries as a running back in NFL Europe. No, probably not going to do stuff like that. But there's probably a safer way to do it that you can get the guy's mental processes going a little bit quicker, get them adapted to the game quicker from college to the NFL without just having them sit as a backup for 3 years, but having them play meaningful snaps. It seems to be, it needs to be, I think that needs to be like brought up more often, and there needs to be a call to action for that. Yeah, some sort of developmental league, and I know it's not. You just can't treat it like a big viewing process like they do with the XFL or the UFL or all of those other ones. Like, don't treat it like you're gonna. There's more NFL action in the spring. It has to be treated as no. This is just like training camp, but in the spring for these guys, essentially. You know what I mean? Like, just don't market it as that. You got to market it differently. That's all.
Sure. Yeah. I just miss watching Kurt Kittner play football for the Berlin Thunder. Honestly, I really do. I love that. It was such a cool moment. and it was like when NFL Network was just experimenting with like televising NFL games. This is just me being nostalgic, but like I remember back in like 2004, 2005 watching those games in the springtime, and it was just awesome, man. And the sound of those stadiums too, it was just so much different than like an NFL stadium because of like the overhang and how the sound projects off the stadium walls. I mean, just so different and so cool. I love it. Here for it all day. Bring
That's
it
great.
back. I mean, it is still alive technically, and those teams are still teams, but it's a different type of league, if you will.
Yeah, it for sure is a different type of league. A lot of those players that are in that league now are there to stay. Not really a path of advancement, we'll say.
Right.
So I'll tell you what, I'll go with my AFC North picks.
Yeah, I was going to say, get right
cool.
into it.
Let's go through that. So obviously, although we'll see in a minute, I thought it was unanimous, but I have the Ravens winning at 12-5. However, I think that their divisional matchups are going to be a lot closer than you think. I only have them with a 3-3 record in the division. Actually, third worst if you include the Steelers there that I got. But no, I just think that the Ravens are just such a well-coached team. They had in my opinion, the best first two rounds of any contender in the draft. Malachi Starks and Mike Green. That's insane. How did Mike Green fall to them? I don't understand it. That's ridiculous. The dude led the league led the NCAA in sacks, 17.5, and he falls to the second round to the Ravens. That is ridiculous. And I think Malachi Starks is the next.
That's your boy.
That is my boy. I love Malachi Starks. He is going to be like that next Earl Thomas type of safety who's going to be great for 10 years. He's going to be able to command that defense great for at least a decade. And that Tyler Loop looking pretty good.
How about it, baby?
Looking pretty good.
Big shoes to fill. Big shoes to fill.
Big shoes to fill. But I think unless you see Derrick Henry really fall apart, which honestly at this point I'm not going to try to predict it. It's going to be 12-5. They're going to have a winning record. They're certainly going to be in the playoffs. I think people are getting a little freaked out, like going crazy about DeAndre Hopkins signing there. I mean, I don't really care about that. Honestly, I could see him not even being on the team by the end of the season. But that team is just so locked up. All those players, it's very similar to the Bills. All those players have been there for years. They know each other. They have good chemistry. They have a good team atmosphere, good team environment, and they have a coach who knows how to get to the big game and has won a Super Bowl. So I see 12-5 as the floor for this team. I really do. Even in a division that is so competitive. I mean, the Ravens winning the AFC North last year, it was the first time I think like in 20 years that a team has won the AFC North twice in a row. It's something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, you're right.
So good for them. And the other thing I really like about the Ravens is they always seem to have good depth. I mean, they have a lot of insurance policies just ready to go if somebody goes down. Something that I kind of wish that we were a little bit better at when it comes to like our defense side of things. They just always seem to have a guy who can fill in and do his job. So 12-5 is where I have them sitting. Next, we got the Bengals. I predicted the Bengals to go off last year. I don't know if you remember. I think I said they go 14-3, and boy howdy was I didn't think that defense could be that bad. I honestly don't even really blame Lou Amarino, who ended up getting fired. That secondary was pitiful. Never seen a secondary that bad. And in like the wildest turn of events, they literally didn't do anything to the secondary. Throughout off, they didn't sign a guy, they didn't draft a guy. They just said, "Hey, we're going to chuck him out there again." Honestly, it's a wild thing, and I think their offseason has been super, super unorthodox. You re-sign T. Higgins, who I like. He's a very good player, don't get me wrong, but just not where I thought you would want to allocate your money. And then this weird thing where, hey, we have these two, like one of them is a premier defensive end and the other is our first round pick. Let's piss them both off right before the season.
Right.
What is that move? I just don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't get that at all. But despite all that, they are still an 11-win team. I mean, this is a team that went 9-8 last year, and most of that was due to just, I mean, you all remember the Chiefs game. Was that week 2?
Oh, yeah.
With that crazy defensive pass interference play on like 4th and 17 that set them up to win the game. Like, they had a lot go wrong for sure. And looking at their schedule, just taking a brief look, they're facing, who are they facing? What's their division that they're going through? They are facing the NFC North, which isn't great. And then who's their AFC that they're facing? Oh, the East,
I was going to
which
say,
I
I
think,
believe it's the East. Yeah.
yeah, which I think is going to be a pretty weak division aside from the Bills. And I actually I
Sure.
have them beating the Bills in this thing because I just think they're going to shoot them out at some point.
I did too.
Joe Burrow is still the man, still a really, really good quarterback. You could say he's injury prone all you want. When he's on the field, he's great. And obviously, these predictions, I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh, well, he's definitely going to get hurt," so I think they're going 9-8. I can't tell you that. I can't make predictions off of injuries. It's impossible. So 11-6, I think is a good spot for them, and I think they finally get back to the playoffs after that Super Bowl win or Super Bowl loss. Sorry, ooh, excuse me, yikes. Let's go to the Steelers real quick. So I don't know what the Steelers think Aaron Rodgers is going to suddenly fix, but they're going 10-7 and missing the playoffs. I mean, it is a Mike Tomlin.
They have to have a winning record.
They have to have a winning record. It's a Mike Tomlin team. I think all of this stuff about Casey Hayward suddenly wants money and TJ Watt, they weren't going to pay TJ, all this stuff, and then they traded Minkah Fitzpatrick, which I thought was odd to get an older player. Kind of weird. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird. But if there's anyone that knows how to silence the doubters, it's Mike Tomlin. You know what I mean? He could coach the Cowboys to a 10-7 record, I think, with the amount of drama that's going on with them this year. Yeah, it's just going to be average. Aaron Rodgers is going to suddenly become an MVP, but I also don't think he's going to fall apart and be a mess and fall all over himself. And guess what? Even if he does, they'll still go 10-7 with Mason Rudolph. Because that's just how this team works. It's how this team works. I loved getting DK Metcalf. I think he's an absolute stud. Will he be able to get the ball to him? I don't know, but we're gonna find out. I think it's enough for 10 wins, and I also think that they're gonna be able to beat up on that division, especially because you look at those two offenses at the top, and if any defense is going to stop them, it's the Steelers defense. And if any offense is going to score on that Bengals defense, it's the Steelers. The Steelers could put up 30 points on that Bengals defense. So I think 10-7 solid. I don't think that they're going to make the playoffs. When I initially did this calculation, they were the 7th seed, and I changed it so that they weren't the 7th seed because I can't see them making the playoffs. I really can't.
I love that.
And then finally, yes, Browns are going 4-13. No, Shedeur Sanders is not going to come in and win 5 straight and take them to the playoffs. However, I think one thing you got to remember is this defense is still really good. And not only is it still really good, they also had a really good, I know I keep saying it, but Mason Graham is a really good defensive tackle that makes that defensive line pretty nasty. And Carson Schlesinger seems to be coming on as a great linebacker. He's going to be, tackling machine. Still got an insane secondary. Greg Newsome, Denzel Ward, and Grant Delpit are still all there. They're still fantastic guys. Although I did see that they're starting a new kicker, Andre Schmidt. And the Schmidt is spelled
that's interesting.
SZMYT. Not a single vowel to be found.
I don't know what that was. They got rid of their boy.
Well, Dustin Hopkins played really bad. Played really bad, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, this is just a team that's going to have, Joe Flacco is going to surprise. I honestly think that they could beat the Bengals week 1 with how the Bengals like to start seasons. They could beat the Bengals week 1, sure, with Joe Flacco just saying, screw it, I'm 40. I'm just going to throw it up to Jerry Jeudy, and we're going to just see what happens. And I can totally see them sneak out and win against the Bengals. After that, good luck. Good luck finding a win. So I say 4-13. I think you'll probably see both of those rookies play at some point. I think the level of success is not going to be great. And I think you have to mainly put that on the skill position players that they have around them. I really, really hope, though, that Kevin Stefanski doesn't end up getting fired because I think he's a fantastic coach. The fact that he was able to even get a winning record with Deshaun Watson is insane. And then with a 38-year-old Joe Flacco to take him to the playoffs, it's ridiculous. I think that all is a credit to Stefanski and his entire coaching staff, to be honest. So I really hope that the ownership of the Browns don't pull the trigger too quickly on him. He's 6 years in. He knows how to coach a team. He is really good. He's going to get another chance. And I think as long as they can find their quarterback and get a few better receivers, I mean, they could be a good team. They really could. They're not that far off from like 8-9, 9-8.
I agree. 100% agree. Yeah, I mean, you talk about what they did in the draft, taking Mike Hall too in the second round out of Ohio State
It's true.
back in 2024. They got Schweizinger, the linebacker out of UCLA, who I like a lot. Secondary is still good. They got just absolute dogs rushing the passer. Yeah, on offense, that's really where it is like, what's going to happen here? But Joe Flacco can sling it. I think he gives them a chance to win. He could put them in a position to like have a final 2-minute drive to win a game.
It's very
I
true.
just, yeah,
And not only
Yeah.
that offensive line is still pretty good.
really good. Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, you got Petonio, you still get DeJuan Jones at right tackle or left tackle. I think he's playing this year now.
he's playing left tackle. We got Wyatt Teller, who's fantastic.
Yeah, Jack Conklin. I mean, that's not bad at all. And they drafted Harold Fannin out of Bowling Green, who led the nation in receiving yards at the tight end position. He's basically a receiver playing tight end, kind of a smaller tight end who I love.
And he doesn't have to start right away.
Right. I mean, you got David Njoku as your actual starting tight end. I think they're going to find a way to still get Fannin on the field, but
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they utilize the weapons more so than anything. And I'm a believer it's probably Jerome Ford's season. I don't know what's going on with the whole Quinshon Judkins thing. I know did he plead not guilty or something, and he's not going to actually face legal ramifications?
I honestly don't remember the whole situation, but to be honest with you, I like Dylan Sampson more. And he's starting the season as the backup. I think he can quickly take over the starting role.
I've seen a lot of projections with that for sure. Yeah. But I agree with you on your Browns projections. Just with mine, I'll just go through it real quick because I know you covered a lot with that. You'll see it in the bottom third there.
Oh, yeah, because we have it switched because of the seeding.
Right. A little different. So I have the Bengals actually winning the division. I have them going 12-5. I think they are definitely going to take a step forward this year. They're going to put all that drama beside them. They have L. Golden as their new DC. Pretty damn good pass rushers. I know they lost Sam Hubbard to retirement, but talk about a good, young, like solid defense at every level. I feel like they have a guy that could potentially be a superstar. You know, obviously you got Trey Hendrickson, right? You drafted Shamar Stewart in the first round. I think Logan Wilson is one of the most underrated linebackers in football. I absolutely love him. I think he's an absolute stud. They also drafted Demetrius Knight out of the one and only South Carolina. Love him. I think that was an absolute steal in the second round. I think Geno Stone is still a very good safety too. I mean, this is a guy that had like 8 interceptions 2 years ago, had a great year with Baltimore, had some injuries and whatnot that he's been dealing with, but, you know, a very viable starting safety. Cam Taylor-Britt also does not get enough credit for how good he is. And I like Dax Hill a lot too. I think he is a guy that, you know, he's kind of adapted. He's had to switch over from safety to nickel, kind of filling the Mike Hilton role that he was like a few years ago. And he's still learning a little bit, but I like what this defense is. I think Al Golden is going to bring some juice to it, and excited to see what happens with it. Hopefully all this drama gets pushed aside and Bengals fans can finally reap the rewards of what they drafted and, you know, kind of what they went after. And by the way, they did try to bolster that offensive line a little bit. They drafted Dylan Fairchild. So they were able to get him out of Georgia. I think he's actually going to be starting at guard for them this year. So there's that. And then you still got the weapons. You got freaking Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and Oshivas, and you got Gesicki playing tight end and Chase Brown, who's a very good young back. They brought Samaje Perine back too. Taj Brooks is in the mix. So, yeah, I love the Bengals this year. I think they are going to write off some naysayers. I really do. So I have them winning the division. Second place, I have the Ravens there. 10-7, battle tested. Probably the best draft out of anyone, like you said, on day 1 and day 2. Absolutely. They always seem to find value. They wait for everyone else to make the mistakes and jump too high, and then they settle, and they just end up grabbing an absolute dog at every position they draft in. I don't know how they consistently do it.
It's crazy.
Just locked up. Yeah. Their secondary, maybe the best secondary in football. I mean, you talk Kyle Hamilton, you talk Malachi Starks. I mean, really.
I think the Broncos would have to say something about that.
I guess, but They also got Jair Alexander. They still have Marlon Humphrey. Like, they are loaded in their secondary right now. It is next level there in Baltimore. But I do feel like they have a tendency to lose games that they shouldn't lose. And this is typically in the playoffs. But I think this year it's going to be a little flipped. They're going to go deep into the playoffs. I actually have them going to the AFC Championship game. Or do I? No, I don't. No, hold that thought. We'll see what happens because I redid the playoff structure here. I think they will go deep into the playoffs. Maybe not super deep, but I think that they will. It's going to be a little bit of a reversal, right? Those regular season games, those losses in the regular season will pay off when it comes playoff time. Lamar will play better and be a better version of himself in the playoffs this year when push comes to shove. So that's where I have the Ravens slotted. I have those Steelers just getting into the playoffs. I have them at 10-7. You got to have them have a winning record, plain and simple. I mean, there's no two ways about it. I love Caleb Johnson. I think he's a very viable rookie running back. And, a lot of people are talking Travion Henderson, Quinshon Judkins, all these other names, right? You got a guy in Caleb Johnson who could play extremely well, be a guy in this offense alongside Jalen Warren, who, by the way, they just locked up with an extension. And, I think he's built for this offense. I think he's going to be a 900-plus yard back, kind of fill that Najee Harris role, if you will, and they're going to take full advantage of it. And A-Rod, by the way, he's not the MVP A-Rod that he used to be. His mobility is not even close to what it used to be. But he can still sling it. He can get the job done. He's got DK Metcalf. He's got Patty French Fries, Jonnu Smith. And Arthur Smith is concocting some great plays and different ways that they're going to use that personnel. I think it's going to be an exciting offense. Roman Wilson's coming back off injury. You got a lot of different things there. Kelvin Austin, who I think is a really good young player too. I like what the Steelers have. I don't think they are going to take it to the next level by any means. I think they're probably one and done, probably out in that first round, losing to the Bengals as what I have here. But 10-7 for the Steelers. Last but not least, the Browns. Yeah, 3-14. It's a mishmash. I think they're going to have a chance to win games, but they're not going to win them at the end of it. And that's just kind of how it is. So 3-14 Cleveland Browns. I hate to say it. They'll probably have the first overall pick in the draft, and hopefully they can get better. They do still have a very good young defense, but it's just not going to be enough, man. So
definitely top three.
Stand.
Definitely be top three.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. All right. I will move on to the AFC West because I believe we both have the AFC West as like that next division at least.
Yes, that is I have the South at the bottom. So
yeah, we're both in agreement on the AFC South kind of being that mediocre AFC division still to this day. But for me, I have the Chiefs winning it again. Unfortunately, 12-5. They're just going to go about their business, do things the way that they always do, and yeah, they're going to lose some weird ones, I feel like, but I think they're going to win the games that matter, and they're going to ultimately win that division. What the Chiefs have done in the offseason, it's not the flashiest thing by any means. I mean, you look at the receiving core, you're looking at it probably thinking like, wow, what's so great about this? They did draft a kid in the 4th round in Jalen Royals, who I really liked out of Utah State. But otherwise, that offense has kind of just remained consistent, right? The O-line has remained intact. The biggest deal was getting a new left tackle, and they did get Josh Simmons, who I think is going to be a really good player in this league. So kind of came in a little raw. Definitely more of a raw talent, but a guy that you knew if he can figure it out was going to get it right. So I feel like they finally got that left tackle that they've been looking for the last few seasons. So hopefully good news for them. I hope it isn't, but that's kind of my projection on Josh Simmons. Defensively, I mean, they didn't do a whole lot. I know they got Omar Norman Lott in the 2nd round, kind of helping the D-line out a little bit. They took Ashton Jaloti as well in the 3rd round. Jeffrey Bassa is a linebacker, Noel Williams at the corner position. But, yeah, I mean, just, again, consistent. Trent McDuffie, going to be a stud again this year. I know he's dealing with some injuries and whatnot, but yeah, just consistent across the board. The Chiefs are going to be the Chiefs, and they're going to go 12-5, plain and simple. Then I have the Chargers, 10-7. Ground and pound, tough physical football. It's going to be very similar to what we saw last year, except now they have a rookie running back in Omarion Hampton and the Cyclops, Najee Harris himself. Going to be fun to watch. a little firework accident. Not going to stop him whatsoever. Going to be a good 1-2 punch there. Lad McConkey going to take the next step. It is unfortunate with Rashawn Slater just going down with that massive, what was it, Achilles or ACL injury?
I think it was Achilles.
Yeah,
I
you
believe.
do hate to see that, but this is where we see what Joe Alt is made of. He's switching from right to left tackle, and you look at that offensive line in general. I think they got a lot of young talent. By the way, they signed Mekhi Becton, or they traded for him, or did they sign? I think they signed him.
They signed Mekhi. Yes, they have Mekhi.
Who had a hell of a bounce back here in Philly. So super impressed, and they are one of like 6 teams to utilize the fullback position in Scott Matlock, so I got to give them a ton of love for that. Absolutely love to see it. Defensively, they got some absolute dogs. They bring back Khalil Mack, Denzel Perriman, one of the better linebackers in football. Deshaun Hand is playing there. Cam Hart going to be starting at corner. They did lose Asante Samuel Jr. That's going to be interesting, but Derwin James continues to be one of the best safeties in football too. So secondary might be a little iffy with Dante Jackson and Cam Hart as your starting 2 corners, but overall, I think on the back end there with Derwin James, you have one of the most elite safeties in football. So not too worried about that. I think the Chargers are going to win some games this year, go to the playoffs, and maybe make a little bit of a run. So that's where I am there. The Broncos, I had a hard time with this one because I still felt like they were a playoff team. I have them winning 10 games, but based on how the schedules fell, they just fell short this year, unfortunately. I wish I could flip them with the Steelers and have them get in over the Steelers. I feel like that would make more sense, but unfortunately, that's just not how it lied for me. So I love what Denver has done. They have some awesome young talent. They took RJ Harvey in the draft. The defense, they are stacked, arguably one of the better secondaries in football. So, obviously excited about it. Wouldn't be surprised if they still made the playoffs, but I have them at 10-7. To wrap it all off, we have the Raiders here, 6-11. Some growing pains. Pete Carroll's first year back in the NFL after taking a little hiatus. You got Ashton Genty there in the first round, some young receivers, the quarterback position, being held by Geno Smith. You got Kenny Pickett as your backup. The Raiders are such an interesting team. I would love to start a franchise with them on ESPN NFL 2K5 with updated rosters because I feel like it'd be so much fun. Realize I didn't say Madden because Madden sucks. But anyways, the Raiders 6-11. Ian, I'm gonna let you take it away. I'm rambling like crazy. I'm losing my voice. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, so it's pretty similar. I obviously the Broncos and Chargers are flipped for me, and I have the Raiders with a slightly better record as well. But we'll start with the Chiefs. I just want to take you through this because I was curious myself at they're 15-2 regular season in 2024. I mean, I know that there's the meme going around with reps and the Chiefs and how lucky they got. They did get very lucky. I mean, the odds of them going 15-2 after they lost they beat the Ravens by a toe. The Bengals
Literally.
game was the pass interference game.
Yeah.
Right. There was that crazy fumble by AOC of the Raiders that caused them. What was the play? Do you remember the play against the Raiders? Where they won 19-17. They were going to kick a field goal, but he was it that Aiden O'Connell fumbled and then they got it back and on a play that it didn't count or something, or like whatever it was. It was a ridiculous play. There was the 29-yard field goal the Broncos missed to that they lost to. You can sit here and say, "Oh, Pat Mahomes, he's just such a winner. The Chiefs just know how to win." No, they also know how to be lucky. And unfortunately, especially when it comes to the NFL, luck does not last. And I see them taking a step back and going 11-6. I think this could be the year that they don't win the AFC West. This is a crazy division. This is tickling my late aughts, early 2010s brain so much with Sean Payton, Jim Harbaugh, Pete Carroll, and Andy Reid all coaching again and all in the same division. That's a crazy pedigree of coaches. And they all know each other really well, and they all know how to beat each other. And I think this is going to be the most closely contested division of all the divisions. It's going to go down to the final few weeks. I think the Raiders even are going to sneak out wins and be competitive for a while, for like for most of the season. December is going to really decide it, and the Chiefs will ultimately probably win in December, and we'll get them to that 11-6 mark. But like when I was going through the schedule in my head, I started them at 1-3. They're going to lose in Brazil to the Chargers, lose to the Eagles. They also have a brutal beginning of the schedule. Chargers in Brazil, then you have the Eagles, easy win against the Giants, then the Ravens. That's tough. And then eventually, 2 weeks later, you got the Lions, and then 2 weeks later, you got the Commanders and the Bills. That's a hard schedule.
That is a tough schedule. Yeah.
To start off the year. So I think 11-6 is where I would keep them. If it wasn't for the divisional record, I think the Broncos pass it. I truly believe they have the best defense in the National Football League, bar none. Their defense is insane. It's really just a matter of can Sean Payton outmaneuver other defenses and continue to get guys the ball when, to be honest with you, they didn't do enough, I think, in the receiver room to really justify having a good offense. I think that their offensive line is good, but it's not great. It's not elite. It's not. It's certainly not on the level of the Eagles and even the Bills' offensive line. But it's okay. It'll keep Bo Nix upright for a bit. Still got Evan Ingram out there playing tight end. I mean, good for you, man. J.K. Dobbins is going to come in and start at running back. We'll see how R.J. Harvey does. I mean, I think if you spend a second-round pick on your running back and he's not going to start for you, that's kind of a red flag, if I'm being honest with you. That seems kind of strange. Nowadays, if you're going to draft a running back in the first 3 rounds, they're probably going to start. If you're going to invest that much, if that high of a draft pick on a running back, he better be starting because running backs, despite the recognition that they've been getting recently in the years, they're still kind of a dime a dozen, and I think they will be for the next year or two. And then I think you're going to start to see the real elite of the elite continue to thrive there. But that defense is just too good. They have to go to the playoffs, and I even think they could possibly sneak out a win in the playoffs with a defense that good. The Chargers, you hit the nail on the head. That defense are maulers. They're going to get after you. And I think they did a great job in the draft of addressing their problem, which was the offense early on in the draft. Amari Hampton's going to be awesome. I'm very high on him in both fantasy and just in terms of production on the field. I think Trey Harris is a sneaky good pick. I think he fits that team really well. And you have an old dude now like Keenan Allen back on the team. Love to see that. He's going to be the insurance policy. Ladd McConkey's still going to be that Emmanuel Sanders type receiver. And Trey Harris will stretch the field. Maybe tight end's the only thing I'm necessarily worried about as far as the offense, but
Will Dissly, stud.
He is a stud, but that offensive line is an elite offensive line. Even without Rashawn Slater, it's an elite offensive line. Good. I mean, those guys are unbelievable. So yeah, they have to make the playoffs. I think it's just such a competitive division that you're going to see them go 10-7. If they were in, let's say, the AFC East, I think they can. I think they'd have 11-12 wins. I think. Honestly, if they were in the AFC South, they would win that division by a mile. But they're in the AFC West. That's the cards they're dealt. That's that's the region that they're located in. So that's what they're going to get. I would say I'm much higher on the Raiders than you are. I think bringing in a competent quarterback like Geno Smith. Geno Smith is never going to light the world on fire with his play, but he's competent. He's decent. He reminds me of kind of like if you like to think in terms of Espen. An Espen mindset. It's like a Jake Plummer. He's just a consistent. He's not going to fall off a cliff in terms of his play, but he's never going to be like breach that upper echelon. Trent Green comes to mind too, as far as like career trajectory. Wow. Like he's just he's going to go in there. He's going to play his game. He's not going to lose you games, but he's not going to win you games. But he's going to put up stats. He knows how to put up stats. He's really good at putting up stats. Ashton Jeanty. Yeah. Yes. I think the cool thing that I really like about the Raiders is like they build a team similar to how I would build a team. Their best players for skill positions are running backs and tight ends. I bet you the average person, if you asked them for a Raider receiver, they would have no clue. But you want to talk about their best offensive player? Yeah. You talk about their best offensive players, it's Brock Bowers and Ashton Jeanty. Those dudes are great. And I think that's a perfect thing when you have a veteran quarterback like that to really establish the run and have a safety net like Brock Bowers there. I think it's going to get them a lot of easy first downs. I think it's going to help them have a really good third down conversion rate. And that defense is no joke, man. I mean, you re-signed Max Crosby to a great year. Jermaine Pratt is on the team. What a great linebacker who's been playing forever. Malcolm
Jamal
Koons.
Adams playing linebacker too. You see that?
Yeah, they've
Isn't that
converted him to
weird?
linebacker. They're putting on weight. They told him
Mark
he's
Barron.
gonna put on weight. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say maybe their secondary is the biggest question mark. They did draft Darian Porter, who's pretty good. Um,
Love Darian Porter. One of my favorite cornerback prospects.
but I think the way that you saw the Raiders play even last year with not the same coaching, not as competent of coaching, a worse quarterback situation, and they were still competitive. Now you give them some competent coaching, and you really improve their offensive stability. 8 wins, I think, is possible. I think 9 is
Very doable.
probably their ceiling, but yeah, I think 8 wins is possible. And I'm looking at the schedule where I have them getting wins, and a lot of it is like, I don't know. I think they're mainly going to be pretty competitive in the division. So that's kind of where I stand with the AFC West, I'd say.
I like it, dude. Well, get right into the AFC South. You might as well. We'll try to speed it up a little bit too, because I know
Yeah.
we're almost an hour in. This is
Oh my God.
typical us. I feel bad, but we'll get into it.
No, it is typical us. This is usually what happens. So this is probably the biggest surprise. I think I've mentioned this on every single one of these prediction things that we've done, but the average amount of teams, new teams, that are in the playoffs in the NFL every year is 5. Every year there's on average 5 new teams in the playoffs. I think on a bad year it's 3 or 4. On like a really good turnover year it's like 6 or 7 new teams.
Wow.
But there's at least 5. Now if you look at my standings, I only have 4. So and especially in the AFC, the only one I had was the Bengals. I felt like I had to make some sort of shift, and it might not necessarily be because the Texans are going to be that much worse, but I also think that shifts in the NFL are hard to predict, and sometimes something might look like it has a lot of hype. This happens a lot in the NFL, and then it turns out to be an absolute dud. The Jaguars could be an absolute dud. I can totally see them. First year head coach. There's all this hype. Travis Hunter, their GM Gladstone making that ridiculous speech about how he's going to change the trajectory of all of our lives. Are you really buying into all that? No, they could certainly fall off a cliff. But I also think that if you buy into the hype a little bit, this Jaguars team has everything that they possibly can to succeed in a division that's this weak. In my opinion, the AFC South is probably the worst division of all the divisions, even more than the NFC South, which is also not so great. We'll talk about, but they still have a really, really good front seven. Of guys like Travion Walker and Eric Armstead still out there. Josh Hines Allen is still very good. Devin Lloyd's a first rounder from a few years ago. Their secondary is probably the thing that sets them back a little bit, but you got an offense with a pretty decent offensive line. You got 2 stud receivers now. You have a tight end that you feel good about in Brenton Strange, and we'll see how the running back situation pans out. But you got a 1-1 quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. This has got to be the year. This is the make or break year for Trevor Lawrence. Is Liam Cohen really going to help him ascend as a quarterback? Is he going to be the quarterback whisperer we all think he is? And is he going to ascend? Well, in my prediction, I'm going to give it to him. I think that they can eke out 10 wins. I think they can beat up on this division, and I have them going 10-7. The Texans, I think, honestly, my biggest worry with the Texans is their offensive line. We saw how CJ Stroud played when his offensive line was banged up. He doesn't like getting sacked, much like most quarterbacks, but he also doesn't quite have the elusiveness that some quarterbacks have to get out of those situations. And I think it's going to be a big struggle. They did draft 2 receivers to try to bolster that receiving core. We'll see how that ends up. That offensive line really worries me. You're losing Joe Mixon for who knows how long. And I know you and I both love Nick Chubb, but he's not that guy. You're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. And defensively, it's great. They have a fantastic defense. And it helps when you have DeMeco Ryans as your head coach as well. He knows how to scout that defensive talent. They're still going to be very good. CJ Gardner-Johnson appears to be injured, according to our lads. So we'll see how that pans out. But it's still a really, really good secondary. It's why I have them at 9-8. They're going to be competitive. But I actually think I have the Jaguars winning the division on the last game of the year. I think in my standings, if I look at it, I think I have them. Yeah, they win the last 2 games of the year to get to 10-7 and win the division. So that's where I see the Texans. I think the Titans are sneaky decent. 7 wins I don't think is unreasonable. I think Cam Ward has his head on straight. I think he's a dude that is a super, super competitive quarterback that is also, there's not a lot of expectations for him because of the Shedeur drama. I feel like nobody's talking about Cam Ward when quietly he looked pretty good for a rookie quarterback in the preseason. I know it's the preseason, but like he was leading guys. He seemed to have a command of the offense. He was finding receivers with just really good arm talent throws. And I'm not necessarily saying that his offensive weapons are like out of control good, but they have a really good offensive line and the best offensive line coach in the league, by the way, Bill Callahan. Uh,
Yep,
Huge,
sure do.
big offensive line coach. And their defense is not as bad as everyone thinks. They had a bad year last year. They had a lot of injuries. L'Jarius Sneed was hurt for a lot of the year as well. I see a big bounce back happening. I think 7 wins is not unreasonable, and I think that the Colts are garbage. Unfortunately,
Hot garbage.
my biggest issue with them is you go into the season with a quarterback competition with a guy who's really only started one full season in the league in Anthony Richardson, and you drafted him 4th overall, and now you're in a quarterback competition. This just isn't going to end well. This is the sort of thing that you can already tell. Like, if you have a quarterback competition like this at the beginning of the year, let me ask you something, Jake. Has there ever been a situation where a team goes into the offseason with a quarterback competition and they have a great season? It doesn't happen.
Really
It doesn't happen. It never happens.
Yeah,
There's never a
right.
situation like that. If you have a quarterback
We know all
competition,
too well about that with the Buffalo Bills. You know, I mean,
Bills,
dating
the
back to the mid
Browns,
2000s. Yeah,
it doesn't end well. It's a problem. It's not going to happen. I mean, even the Colts, the last few years when they've been signing these 39-year-old quarterbacks to come out and play, Matt Ryan and Phillip Rivers and stuff, Carson Wentz, who wasn't that old, but still, they still were able to win games because Joe Flacco. They were still able to win games, but there wasn't a quarterback competition. It was mainly that Anthony Richardson was getting hurt, and then he said he was tired, and then Joe Flacco to come in. But like,
he said he was tired.
he did. He tapped out.
Literally.
But it's funny because I look at this team and I'm looking at the roster. Their roster is actually like surprisingly good. Their defense is surprisingly good. But man, you have a quarterback competition like this, it's just not going to end well. I think that I don't think you necessarily have the weapon. I just don't think you have the quarterback to utilize the weapons they have. And I just think, unfortunately, they're gonna Shane Steichen's gonna run out of luck. They're probably gonna fire him prematurely, and they're going to be looking for a new quarterback next year, and maybe that's Arch Manning.
Wow. Wouldn't that be something?
Wouldn't that be something?
Talk about cementing the Manning legacy.
Now, he might not be coming out, especially after that game he had
tough
on Saturday.
Week 1. Yeah.
Dude, I don't know. Did you watch that game at all?
Oh, I did.
Why? I don't know if you noticed this, but whenever he threw, he just looked like he was hurt. He looked like he was giving everything he could into every throw, and it was still like he was skunking it on the ground. And I feel like he's got a shoulder injury that we don't know about.
Yeah, there might be something more to that. I think he was just shell-shocked, honestly. Matt Patricia threw everything at him. This is like an elite defensive mind coming in with NFL experience, probably just throwing looks that he's never seen before in his entire life. Doesn't matter how much film he watches, there's just no going back to it. And already Ohio State has elite defensive talent. So he was just, they were getting after him, man. It was tough.
Yeah.
Tough to watch.
That was definitely tough. It seemed to me like there was an injury concern because even on wide open passes or guys where he had that first read, he was really struggling to get the ball out to the guy. And it just looked odd. Like I was watching the All-22 and it just looked odd the way he was throwing. He was looking like he was putting his entire body into even just like these little 10-yard throws. And I just was surprised that he was throwing like that. Cause you look at his freshman year.
I'm curious to see what JT says about him. I haven't watched the All-22 yet. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, it was just something I noticed when he was throwing. It just looked like he was giving it so much. But anyways, I don't know. I'm not a quarterback whisperer. I have no clue. There's my AFC South. You go ahead.
No, I love it. I'm in mostly agreement. I do have the Texans still coming away with the division, just based on how well their defense is. Their defensive line, Danielle Hunter and freaking Will Anderson, that's insane. What a tandem, and then you still got some absolute dogs at linebacker and safety and corner. And I think they're set up to win. They drafted some young talent. Jaden Higgins is probably going to be the other starting receiver alongside Nico Collins. So, I think that they are in a good position to succeed. And CJ Stroud will take another step forward Now that O-line, little suspect. I don't know what to expect with that. Hopefully they can figure that out. But I do think that the Texans will still win the division. Love what you said about the Titans. I think Cam Ward is that guy. I said he was going to be the next Steve McNair, like literally the next Steve McNair. Their height, weight, everything is the same for the most part. And I think his whole demeanor is like he is all about ball. Like every single interview he's had, he has been so tied up and locked in. I love that. I think the Titans are in a great spot with him. They should be excited about it. Kelvin Ridley's looked great. He had 1,000 yards last year, even. So to me, I feel like this is going to be special. Tony Pollard too, over 1,000 yards last year. I know Tyjae Spears is hurt right now, but man, they got some good players on this team. Like the defense too, they got some good players still, some good young players that are going to help with the core nucleus and make this team kind of get on a little bit of a run that could feel like, hey, maybe there's a chance. But I think ultimately they probably get to 7 wins. So I have them actually second. I have the Jags at 6-11. Duval. I don't know if they're there yet.
Oh,
Yeah, and I hate to be that guy because I do think that Trevor Lawrence is a very good quarterback, but something happened where it's just not clicking, and he might put up numbers. He might have like a Blake Bortles type year where he puts up really good numbers, but their record just doesn't show for it. And it's just because they're probably playing from behind and in the fourth quarter for the most part. So I have them going 3-3 in the division, but outside of the division, I don't think they're going to do a whole lot of damage, unfortunately. So I have the Jags going 6-11 and the Colts at 4-13. Yeah, again, just do not believe in what they got going on there. I love Jonathan Taylor, going to be a stud again.
Yep.
Michael Pittman took a little bit of a step back last year. I still love Alec Pierce. Josh Downs is kind of a stud. They did draft Tyler Warren, who I think can be a player in this league, but I think it's going to take some time to get there. They got to rewrite their wrongs and kind of get a new guy at quarterback right now. I just feel like Daniel Jones is no more than just a stopgap quarterback. Anthony Richardson, not the guy. Move on. It's time. 4-13, Indianapolis Colts.
I feel really bad about that too because I remember a couple of years ago I was promoting the hell out of Anthony. I loved Anthony Richardson because I thought he could be Cam Newton 2.0, and boy, honestly, I think the biggest issue with him, he just needs more time to sit. He's just too young. He came into the league at 21. He didn't start that many games in college, and unfortunately, he got hurt early on in his career, and then they tried to get him out there. And yeah, I think that he could still be good, but it's gonna take some years to sit, and then somebody else to give him a chance, which they will. He was 4th overall.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Well,
I think experience is priceless, and he just doesn't have that. And on top of it, maybe his mentality isn't right and where it should be.
For sure.
You know? All right, I'll move on to the NFC West. I'll keep it quick here. The 49ers bounce back here. Like I said at the beginning of the show, bold statement, Christian McCaffrey plays a full season. If that does indeed happen, there is no way they don't win 13 games. The 49ers are in a position right now. They brought back Robert Saleh as their DC. I think that defense is going to be back up, juiced up, and running. And, the offense, while they have Brandon Ayuk on the PUP list and they don't really know when the timetable is for him to return, they have some other guys, at Juwan Jennings, who really stood out last year, Ricky Pearsall. They still have George Kittle, CMC, of course. And then, you have trying to think of some of the other players on that offense right now. I mean, they are
Marcus Valdes-Scantling is going to be starting.
Do they have MVS? No way. That's kind of crazy.
Sky Moore.
They have Sky Moore. I know that they have him too. Yep.
Well, you're also forgetting too. They just recently traded for a guy who
Brian
I think
Robinson.
Is huge for that team.
Absolutely.
Huge.
Kyle Juszczyk as well, still on the team, killing it. They brought him back. Thank God.
Can't get rid of him now.
Moment where it was like they were going to get rid of him, but they ended up bringing him back. So that is absolutely huge. But yeah, Brian Robinson Jr., I mean, they have a great running back room there. And Isaac Rendo as well as the third string, and Jordan James as well, who they drafted in the 5th round. So love it. Love the offensive line. I think the defense, like I said, that's really going to stand out. They took Michael Williams in the 1st round this year. Alfred Collins as well in the 2nd, which is just incredible. You still got Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, D. Winters, Bernardo Green as well at the cornerback position, who they took in the 2nd round in 2024. Yeah, it's a good young defense, and Robert Saleh is going to coach them up. They are going to be all the way back this year. I really feel good about the Niners, so they're going to win that division. Then I have the Rams coming in at 11-6. I know Matt Stafford kind of banged up right now. A little worried about the back. Hopefully, it's no more than just just some soreness he's going to have to battle throughout the year. But they go ahead and get Devontae Adams. They re-sign Kyron Williams. They still have Tutu Atwell, and they have Puka Nacua, of course. The defense is really good and really young. Jared Verse wins Defensive Rookie of the Year last year. They still got Braden Fisk. They got some absolute dogs in their secondary. So love where the Rams are at. They were almost there. I mean, they could have beaten the Eagles last year to get them.
They had a good shot.
Yeah, they had a chance. They absolutely had a chance. Then the Seahawks and Cardinals. I feel like they're kind of both similar. Like they can make a run, but I feel like they just don't have enough juice at the end of the day to compete with these other two teams. NFC West is a pretty good division, man. Like I feel like they always take turns beating each other too, like in upset victories, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
when you least expect it.
Yep.
So that's another thing that I had going on. So like I have the Seahawks at 4-2, but the Cardinals at like 1-5 with the division records. But yeah, I had them both there, and truly, I feel like they are they're in a position where they're up and coming still. They're not quite ready yet to make the playoffs. So that's where I'm at with those two. And I'm gonna let you take it away because I said I wouldn't take too much time on these.
Oh, you're good. Well, it's funny you brought up divisional records because mine are hilariously not going to happen. Everyone goes 3-3.
That is hilarious.
All of them going. That's not going to happen. But I'm in complete agreement with you on the first two. 49ers bounce back year. I don't think it's going to be quite as good. And honestly, I think 11-6 is more in their future. The skill positions are what mostly worry me. Obviously, last year, the rash of injuries they got are the main reason they didn't do as well. But when you got no one to throw to for the first few games, that's worrisome. That's going to make Christian McCaffrey's job that much harder. They're going to have to rely on him a lot more until Brandon Ayuk comes back for the PUP list. But that defense is still an absolute menace. I have them at 12-5. You talked about Matt Stafford's health. I don't predict injuries. I'm saying if Matt Stafford plays, 10-7 for sure. They have the weapons. The offense, if anything, has gotten better from last year. Devontae Adams, I think in this stage of his career, isn't going to produce. He's not going to be this wild, athletic freak that he was, but he's still going to be really good, and I think potentially better than Cooper Kupp on different teams. This defense is unbelievable. We forgot to mention Poona Ford on that defense.
Poona Ford,
love Poona Ford, great defensive tackle. But I think 10-7 is their limit most likely. Cardinals, I have same sort of thing, just falling short. Until they stop making Call of Duties, I'm not gonna trust in the Cardinals. I don't know what to tell you.
That's amazing.
But no, genuinely, I think they had a pretty decent draft too. Will Johnson, getting him in the second round. I mean, that's
nuts.
That's awesome. Way to go. But and then Walter Nolan. Unfortunately, he's starting the year on the PUP list. But Walter Nolan is a great defensive end that would help when he comes back. But you're running it back with guys like Calais Campbell, who's 39. Good for him. I can't believe he's still doing it. But what can you really expect? The defense is good. Jonathan Gannon is a great head coach. I think he fits it well. I honestly think that the Cardinals are one of these teams that they could be the 7th seed. But in my rankings, the way I did it, I have them falling short to the Falcons, which we'll get to later on. And then the Seahawks, I just don't know how Sam Darnold's going to hold up with that offensive line. I mean, yes, they drafted Gray Zabel, and Gray Zabel is going to be great. He's a guard. What about the tackles and the center? I just don't see Sam Darnold being able to stay upright. I honestly think you might see Drew Lock at some point. Or Jalen Milroe, which I have very high hopes for. I think Jalen Milroe could be very, very good if he really develops. But losing DK Metcalf is going to be a bigger blow than you think, and Tyler Lockett. That entire receiving group has to kind of be reconfigured. And JSN is a good receiver. I don't think he's necessarily a number one guy. I think that he's probably more of I can take the pressure off of a number one guy type of guy, like a T. Higgins. Not in terms of play style, but in terms of what he does to the offense. And I think it's just another year of Kenneth Walker just getting hit quietly, having like a solid season and then backing off. They're going to draft a running back in the second round because that's something the Seahawks seem to be obsessed with. They always draft a running back in the second round. I swear to God, it happens every year. It feels like.
Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker back to
Yep,
back
and then
here.
there was like DJ Dallas the one year, and there was it
Wow.
always happens. I swear. That defense is a nightmare, and I think they got one of my favorite players in the draft, Nick Emanwari. That's
I
huge for
know.
them. But
Ridiculous.
yeah, but at the end of the day, I just think the other thing, you look at their defense, and that defensive line is getting up there in age. DeMarcus Lawrence, Leonard Williams, Jerron Reed are all over 30. That's concerning. That secondary is still fantastic. And the linebacking core is good, but they're not, they've probably only been good for about a year or so. But
I like Ernest Jones a lot. I think he's very
yes,
underrated. Yeah.
yes. But yeah, I think 6-11. I think you have to have a bad team somewhere in this division, and it has to be. I think it has to be the Seahawks. I think they have lost the most in terms of their team. All right, well, I'll go to the NFC
Yeah,
North,
let's do it.
which I'm very excited about this because I don't mean to be a hipster, but I had the Packers as the winning this division before the Micah Parsons trade. I made this playoff prediction like a month ago.
Wow.
So I thought the Packers had the potential to win the division before all that. Last year there was a lot of talk about the Lions falling off, and they ended up not doing that and having a great season. I think they go 15-2 or 14-3. The Lions, I can't remember now. I think it was 14.
I want to say, yeah. Yep.
So everybody was writing them off last year. It's like, well, eventually they're going to have a slump, and they didn't, despite the injuries. However, this year, I think it's more likely that this is the year that they have a little bit of a slump. I think this is a very, very competitive division, easily the most competitive, I would say, in the NFC in terms of like competitors. I think they had a great draft. Tyreek Williams is a plug and play guy on the line. Isaac Teslaw, love Isaac Teslaw. It's great. Tate
So
Ratledge
good.
is going to fill in for I'm forgetting the guard who just retired for them.
Frank Ragnow.
Frank
Retired.
Ragnow. I always get him and Graham Glasnow mixed up because
Yes.
their names are so similar. But yes, Frank Ragnow retiring, and then you solve the problem by getting Tate Ratledge in there. Good for you. They just have so many weapons on offense. It's so many. It is mind-boggling how everybody is able to eat on that offense. But they're able to do it. It's a fantastic offense, one of the best easily in the NFC, probably the best. But I still have them at 11-6 behind this Packers team. There's something about this Packers team that I really like, and I think the big thing is there's balance on this team. Their offense and their defense are both equally good. There's not like, oh well, their offense is slightly better than their defense. Their defense might struggle in this area. Their offense, everything is just equally balanced. It's all equally balanced and good. And I just think that is something that is going to play into their advantage for this upcoming year. We still don't know who Jordan Love is necessarily going to target as his favorite guy, but Jaden Reed is still a decent player. Matthew Golden, from everything that I've seen and heard about him in training camp, looks like a monster. Tucker Kraft is a really good tight end. Josh Jacobs is coming back. He's still under 30. He still has years to produce. That offensive line is awesome. Love that offensive line. And that defense, despite losing Jair Alexander, is really good. And, even though, especially with the Micah Parsons thing, the only guy they gave up was Kenny Clark, which, that's a blow to their run stopping ability. But
Yeah.
Micah Parsons is that guy who, when you have an already pretty good defense, you add him, and now that defense is even better. And now it's on par, I think, with that offense. I think as long as Jordan Love doesn't take a step back, this team's going to be 12-5. And then we talked about Detroit. I have them going 11-6. Eventually, these fourth down conversions aren't going to always turn your way. It's another thing about luck in the NFL. I think eventually the luck's going to run out. And while Dan Campbell is a good coach, and good coaches can, kind of fix luck problems, I think that this is the year they take a bit of a step back, but they'll go deep in the playoffs. Bears, I have at 8-9. They're not going to take the jump to the playoffs. I know that their team looks exciting. Colston Loveland looks like a really good tight end. They're also a dude where they're a team where their cup runneth over with weapons on offense. Crazy good offense. Honestly, you can't find a hole in any of their skill position players. Skill position players are off the charts. We'll see how that defense does. I think that they did decent getting Shamar Turner. I think that's a good rotational guy for them on the defensive line, but they mainly drafted for offense, which I was kind of surprised about. I mean, Ozzie Trapillo, Luther Burden in the second round is huge. And then obviously we talked about Colson Loveland. And also Kyle Monungai. Really like Kyle Monungai.
Love. Rutgers
Very good
guy.
running back. Yeah.
Yep.
So they won't take that jump, I think, but it showed last year. They did go 4-1 to start the season until that Hail Mary play that kind of made things fall apart. But you knew, and I think everybody knew, that things were going to fall apart because that Gavin Matt Eberflus wasn't the guy. He wasn't the coach to lead them there. But Ben Johnson certainly can be, and I think he will be, but not this year. I think next year they take that next step. And then the Vikings. This is a very similar thing with me with the Vikings for the Colts, because I look at the Vikings and I'm like, this team is good. This defense is very good. But there's just a lot of older guys. Jonathan Allen's in his 30s. Javon Hargrave, Andrew Van Ginkel, Harrison Smith, who's still playing somehow. I don't know how he's still playing. But these guys are getting up there in age. They had a sneaky, decent draft. Donovan Jackson's a great guy to have on the offensive line. That, weirdly enough, even though everybody was like, Sam Darnold, how is he going to, he was able to stay upright in Minnesota. He still got sacked 48 times. Still a lot of sacks. Obviously, you have Justin Jefferson. You can score at will when you have a guy like that. But yeah, Aaron Jones is getting up there in age. Ryan Kelly, their center, is getting up there in age. They traded for Adam Thielen, which I can't believe that anybody would want to trade for a 34-year-old receiver to be their second stringer. But okay, sure. No offense to Adam Thielen, because he's great. I think he makes some fantastic catches. But that dude he's on his last hurrah, I would say. But obviously, this is all going to depend on how J.J. McCarthy develops, and if Kevin O'Connell can work his magic and turn him into a star. I don't see it happening this year. Rookie quarterbacks are really hard to judge, man, and I think you've seen time and time again that usually there's one guy in like a QB class that's really good, or like their team does well, and the rest kind of stink. I think for that quarterback class, it was Jaden Daniels, and I think and Bo Nix was decent too, but I don't see like three quarterbacks hit, and Caleb will do well, so I don't really see four of these top quarterbacks hitting. One of them is going to have to struggle a little bit, and I think JJ is probably going to be the guy that'll struggle for a bit, just not having that experience. And we'll see how it goes, because you can study as much as you want for an entire year, but until you're in the game and you got 2 seconds to throw a ball and process what's going on, you have not really practiced yet. So 6-11 is where I got them.
Yeah, all valid. Definitely valid points that you brought up there. Yeah, it's interesting with the Vikings. I really didn't know what to do with them. I was kind of in a similar boat. I don't think they're going to be quite as bad, just because that defense is so good. And Kevin O'Connell's a really good coach. I think he's going to find a way to get the best out of his guys regardless, But yeah, I just feel like the other two teams, the Lions, they've been there. And the Packers, they were close last year even, but they've added some more, obviously, a Micah Parsons now, where I feel like they have to be a playoff team. There's just no way they're not going to be. So definitely the Packers and the Lions as the top two teams there. The Bears, I have at 6-11. Very good on paper right now. We'll see how things kind of get going, but until they prove me otherwise, I just can't do it yet. I think they're trending upwards, though. They have something good there. But to me, it's still just, we're missing it still. We're just missing it. So it's still a hard division. The NFC is tough in general. It's like the Wild West out there, and I know anyone can probably win this division realistically, but I think it's going to come down to the Detroit Lions bringing it back, bringing it home, taking it deep into the playoffs, righting some wrongs. Dan Campbell essentially proving he doesn't need his coordinators to win games, and rinse and repeat. That's kind of where I have them. So, yeah, I'll go right into the NFC East here. I got Philly winning the division. Dude, it was hard to even give them losses. They're so good. They're so complete. That team is just, there's a reason why they're Super Bowl winners and why they've been to 2 of the last 3 Super Bowls. The offensive line's insane. What they did in the draft. They got Jahad Campbell at middle linebacker right now. He's just a freak of nature. Who else they end up taking? Andrew Makuba back.
Wait, who had a pick 6 in the preseason?
Yeah,
and a forced fumble return for a touchdown as well, I believe. He is unbelievable.
It's just amazing. The fact that they're just able to continue replacing secondary and somehow getting better. And then don't even get me started on the D line. I mean, we're talking about Georgia football basically playing defensive line position for them. The entirety of Georgia football basically playing on the D line and a little bit of linebacker and Nolan Smith, too. They re signed Zach Bond. I mean, they are just stacked. So, again, the Eagles are going to have themselves a year. They're going to have no issues winning that division. Where I do think things will get interesting here, and this is why I was a little perplexed with what I should do with the Packers, because I felt like the Packers, no matter what, were going to be a playoff team. But then it essentially kicked the Washington Commanders out of the playoffs. So, unfortunate enough, I do think Jaden Daniels is going to have a decent year still. I don't think he's going to have a sophomore slump year by any means. I like the weapons that they've added. They brought in a right tackle and Josh Connerly, and they re-signed Terry. They brought in Debo. They got this young kid named Little Bill, aka Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, who has generated a ton of buzz in camp, who has had a really good preseason. Also have Austin Eckler as their starting back, technically listed on the depth chart right now. But Zach Ertz, too, by the way. What a revitalization he's had in this offense. It's been incredible. And from my understanding, Trey Amos is going to be maybe the best cornerback drafted in this class. He has been absolutely killing it. He's been locked down. And I'm a little jealous that they got him now. I mean, I love Maxwell Harrison, don't get me wrong, but I know Amos was another guy that had been mocked to the Buffalo Bills.
Yep.
And all I've heard is how insanely pro ready he is and how he's going to absolutely light up the league. So hopefully it's the case for them, but hopefully it's also the case for us with Maxwell. But I think the Commanders are going to be just fine, but there's going to be some games, and based on how they fell, where maybe they just missed the playoffs, or if they get in, it's going to be like a 6 or a 7 seed. I don't know if they're going to outdo the Eagles. Just based on their schedule, I had them going 10-7, but very well could be a playoff team. The Giants, they're going to get better, but again, it's like, do I feel like they're ready to take the next step? Not yet. Like, they're young. They have Malik Neighbors. They took Jackson Dart. He's listed as the number 2 quarterback behind Russell Wilson. But again, I just, as good as that defensive line is too, by the way, I just can't quite put them as a top tier player, as a top tier team in the NFC East. So 7-10 it is. They're getting better, but they're not quite at the level of a Philadelphia Eagles or Detroit Lions. They just can't do it. Now the Cowboys 4-13. I mean, yeah, it's going to be a step back for them this year. They traded Micah Parsons. Dak coming off the injury. They really don't have a decisive running back in that backfield, whether it's Javonte Williams, Jaden Blue, Miles Sanders. I don't know who it's going to be. I feel like this team is kind of in a mismatch, and I don't know the direction that they're heading in. So I just felt like because of all that, it's going to be a bad year. 4-13, Dallas Cowboys. And that's all I got. So, Ian, what are we thinking?
Yeah, I think I'm in a very, very similar boat as you. I think this is going to be a classic NFC East 2015 type year. You remember back in like maybe like high school, college days where everybody would say the NFC East is the worst division. They always have a guy like a team that goes that's like 8-8, 9-7. I think this is going to be a real similar type of year, and it's not because the teams are necessarily bad, especially not the Eagles, but I just think that the rest of the NFC has gotten really competitive and has kind of surpassed this division in general, with the exception of the Eagles. Now I have them going 11-6. I think they're going to lose more games than you think. I think that Landon Dickerson is also hurt. That's not great. They had an awesome draft. And it's insane to me. I was looking at this while you were talking about it. How many number 1 picks just hit for the Eagles?
Mm-hmm.
Quinion Mitchell, Nolan Smith Jr., Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis is probably going to be a guy who hits. Devontae Smith. Like the last 5 years, every first-round pick has been like an absolute banger. I don't know how they do it. Howie Roseman is just great at finding talent. But honestly, I think a lot of it is credit to the coaching for being able to develop talent, and these players for just buying into the system. It's incredible. Defense is very good. However, I have them at 11-6. I just think the rest of the division, the rest of the conference in general, has gotten a lot tougher, and it's hard to repeat elite years like 14-3, 15-2 years. You don't see that in the NFL like twice in a row. It's pretty hard to do. And I think eventually, especially when you're the Super Bowl champion, you are the one that people want to take down. And I think people will
Target on
practice
their backs.
targets on your back. People will practice and study a lot harder for your team when you're the number one team like that. Washington, I feel the same way. I just think they're going to take a step back. They did a lot of good things. I think they shored up the offensive line. Laramie Tunsil and then having Josh Connerly, that's an awesome offensive line. But now Austin Eckler is going to be your starting back. I just saw that, speaking of Bill Krosky-Merritt, he's listed 4th on their depth chart to start the season. Yes.
What?
I just saw that. He's listed
Wow.
4th on their depth chart. It goes Austin Eckler, Chris Rodriguez, Jeremy McNichols, and then Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt.
Oh my gosh.
So that confuses me, and I think a lot of that is unfortunately, we're going to really see if Dan Quinn is that guy as the head coach. Is he really that guy? Or is he going to be a quick in and out, and you're going to get another offensive guru in there? But their defense is solid. You're right. Trey Amos, I think, is going to be a fantastic corner, and they have Marshawn Lattimore on top of that. That cornerback unit is really solid. You have probably they're also the oldest team in the NFL. Interesting.
Taking it back to the George Allen days.
Yeah, I mean, it helps when you have Von Miller and Bobby Wagner both starting for you.
True.
That's not great. And Zach Ertz and Austin Eckler. Andrew Wiley is also over 30. Oh, and they signed George Fant. He's also in his 30s.
Wow.
So there's a lot of age going on there. I think injuries might play a part. Again, I don't try to analyze injuries too much into it. All I can say is that when you got a bunch of guys over 30, injuries are more likely to occur. But again, I think this is a situation with a team that went to the NFC Championship game that nobody expected. People are going to be more prepared for this sort of thing. You got an entire season of film on Jayden Daniels. Can he, make adjustments and make improvements based off of that? I think the Cowboys are going to be a little bit better than you might think, because even with Micah Parsons gone, this defense actually, they did a decent job at finding guys to still rush the passer. Donovan Ezraku was drafted in the 2nd round of this team.
Big fan of
Donovan Ezraku. They still have Dante Fowler, who ended up getting a decent chunk of sacks last year. And then you have Kenny Clark to add on top of it. Solomon Thomas is on that team too. And then obviously you still got Trey Diggs, who's a great corner. And they just re-signed Deron Bland to some crazy deal. Malik Hooker, it's a decent secondary.
And but starting that corner for him alongside
Kyrie. Or Kyrie. Yeah, it is crazy.
Yep.
But I think you could say they probably got better on offense when you sign Tyler, draft Tyler Booker. You get George Pickens. That's huge. We'll see if Tyler Guyton ends up starting the year. Apparently he's hurt. And I think Jaden Blue is also hurt. But he will probably take over for Javonte Williams at some point. Yeah, I have 6 wins. I think 7 is probably more likely. 7, maybe 8. But it's a team that's not going to be super competitive. Until Jerry Jones eventually relinquishes control, which he's not going to do himself, so something needs to happen in order for him to relinquish control. This team is just going to be middling. It's just going to be middling to the end of his days, unfortunately. And it's of his own doing, and I hope he's happy with it. And then as far as the Giants, I have this team here as the last team to get a win. If you're going to start Russell Wilson, you're going 0-9, 0-8, 0-9. I don't see it happening. This offensive line is just not good enough to keep Russell Wilson upright and throw. I think they'll win more games if Jackson were to start all 17. I think they'd win more games. Russell Wilson is not the guy. He never will be the guy. You can already see a lot of his teammates starting to alienate him. Everyone loves Jameis Winston. He was showing him, Tommy DeVito, and Jackson Dart as the 3 amigos. Where was Russell Wilson and all that? He's the starter. I just think Russell Wilson is just not. He just doesn't got that sort of juice anymore. And I think it's going to be really, really hard for him to stay upright and for them to have consistent and productive drives on offense. Yes, their defense is, especially their front 7, is insane. Abdul Carter, Dexter Lawrence is really, really good, obviously. They got Brian Burns, who's a monster. But that secondary is still not very good. And we don't really know who their running back is going to be. According to this, Cam Scatterbo is their 3rd stringer behind both Devin Singletary and Tyrone Tracy. I don't know how how that's possible, but okay.
Interesting backfield.
Yeah, you don't really have much of at the tight end position, and then aside from Malik Neighbors, weirdly enough, they didn't really draft skill positions, which I think was the biggest problem for the Giants last year outside of Malik Neighbors. So, um, kind of an overall, like they obviously got two really good future pieces in the draft, but outside of that, man, their draft was kind of average. Um, so I think they're going to be picking one or two, and honestly, I think it would be hilarious to see the Saints, the Giants, and the Colts with the 1, 2, and 3 pick
Oh
all
my
trying to get
gosh,
Arch
you're right.
Manning, but that's if Arch comes out. But that would be kind of wild
What a setup.
to see that. But yeah, that's where I have the Giants at 2-15. I think they're unfortunately just not a good team.
Yeah, fair enough.
So then I'll go and finish this off here with the NFC South, and then my other surprise pick, Jake. I talked to you earlier. 5 teams on average are new to the playoffs every year in the NFL, and if you look at both of ours, we have a lot of reoccurring teams.
We do.
We got a new one in here on my roster, and it's the Atlanta Falcons. I think it's going to be them or the Cardinals. If I had to pick one of the two, I think the Commanders are out, and I think one of those two teams will rise to the occasion. I have it as the Falcons, but I want to talk about Tampa here real quick. Tampa is my favorite NFC team going into this year. I love that they decided to triple down on receiver in the draft and get Emeka Egbuka. That's insane. Baker Mayfield's not going to know what to do all this. I just picture that meme of the guy with the lines that's like, I can't hold all these lines. Yeah, I don't know if you know that meme, but he's just got so many weapons to throw to. This offensive line is stacked. He's going to stay upright. Baker is obviously a dog as well. He don't even need an offensive line. He just needs to get out there and be able to throw the ball. I think they did a really good job of shoring up this defense. You got Hassan Reddick. These linebackers may be old, but man, are they absolute studs. Vita Vea is still out there playing, doing a great job. I think the secondary is ready to make a turn. And they went out and got Benjamin Morris in the second round, who was a first-round projected player. And they ended up getting him. He's going to be one of their cornerbacks once he gets healthy, I think. Yaya Diabia is a fantastic linebacker. I think that guy is a stud as well. And I just think I have them at 11-6, but this is a team we'll talk about when we get to the playoffs that I think will make a very deep run. And they were very close last year to making a deep run. They were one field goal away for making a deep run. I love the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I would be, honestly, this is a team I'd be betting on heavily if I were a gambling man, and I happen to be, but I don't endorse that. And then we'll go to the Falcons. I think Michael Penix is a really good quarterback who has a ton of experience. I think he is the anti-Anthony Richardson. This is a dude that started so many years in college. And I think it shows how much experience plays into being a good NFL quarterback. Look at Bo Nix, for example, dude who started all over the place. And he just felt more comfortable in the offense right away, where I think that the same could be said for Michael Penix. He will like fit into the offense really well. And I think unlike the Broncos, they have much better skill position players. Drake London had a nice breakout year last year. Say what you will about Kyle Pitts, all the Kyle Pitts jokes. He's still a productive tight end. I will be the first to tell you, don't draft him in fantasy, but he is a productive tight end. He is.
He's gone up every year in touchdowns.
Yeah. And he's not I wouldn't classify him as like a bust, but he's probably not a first round pick, but he's a productive tight end. He's good. And then more so on top of that, obviously you have a crazy running back tandem, Tyler Algier and then Bijan. That's a great running back tandem.
Oh yeah.
I think the offensive line is pretty solid. It's stacked with a couple first rounders in there, and I think this defense is going to be solid. It always seems to be pretty solid. It is getting up there in age now that I'm kind of looking at it, but I think that their secondary is young, and I think that's important. Man, they could just use a good pass. Jalen Walker was such a good draft pick for them, and James Pierce. That's so huge. I think they drafted well based off of that. Now I'm looking at it again. I haven't looked at this roster in forever. And of course, Younghoe Koo, probably my favorite kicker in the league. Just love that guy.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think this is the year that they provide some hope. This is the team that with Kirk Cousins. What was the record last year with Kirk Cousins? They were 8-9.
Yeah.
With a really banged up Kirk Cousins. I think they can easily win one more game and sneak into the playoffs. And then go to the Panthers. So I don't know what it is. I love the Panthers. Maybe it's just like a feel good story thing for me, but I love to see a guy just get beat down, benched, and then come back and be better than he ever was. Like that Bryce Young, those last few games of last year, really, that was like a lot of fun to watch. I mean, watching a guy who struggled his rookie year, thought that the second year you brought in this dude who's an offensive coordinator was going to change things. He was awful his first two games. Gets benched for Andy Dalton. Then Andy Dalton gets into a car accident. Bryce Young comes back in, and he's awesome. I mean, he just runs the offense so well. I think you get Tet out there at receiver. That's a huge target for him. Chuba Hubbard, sneaky 1,000-yard guy every year.
Oh, yeah.
Rico Dowdle had 1,000 yards last year. Sneaky again. I think the biggest issue is obviously the offensive line. And even defensively, I loved their draft on defense. Nick Scorton is going to be really good once he develops, and Princey Umanmielen, another really good defensive tackle. Or he's more of a linebacker type, I guess. They're going to use him as it seems. Oh yeah, because they run a 3-4, so yeah, he's going to be more of a linebacker type. But you get Derek Brown back after losing him for an entire year. Hopefully, he's not beat up too much. Yeah, I love Ashawn Robinson as well. And Tershawn Wharton is a decent pickup as well to get him. It's mainly the secondary I'm worried about. J.C. Horn will be back. We'll see how he does. But yeah, I see them being competitive. I think I have them at 9-8. I think they're going to be genuinely competitive. And one of the reasons I have them at 9-8 is because the team below them is going to be your first overall pick for next year. The New Orleans Saints are going to be dead last, unfortunately. What did I say, Jake, about quarterback competitions? If you start the season with a quarterback competition, it ain't going to be pretty. And this is the same thing. I mean, I don't really think that anyone is really super jazzed up about watching this team. And I really feel bad for them because the Saints endured a lot over the years, and they had a lot of great years with Drew Brees. And I think a lot of fans are not used to seeing this. But this is what happens when you got guys who are just getting older. Cameron Jordan is still playing somehow. Good for him. Love that. Tyrann Mathieu was still playing up until like a month ago when he was like, man, I got to get out of here. I've been playing for too long. Devon Godchaux, been around for a minute. Nathan Shepard's in his 30s. They got a lot of older guys. Justin Reed's been playing for a while now. I think he's 29, but he's been playing for a while. Alvin Kamara. They re-signed Brandon Cooks. If you think that's going to break the bank, you are unfortunately incorrect. And what's crazy to me is they actually have a very, very good offensive line. It's very pedicured offensive line. Mm-hmm. But that is just not enough when you have this quarterback situation that you have. And unfortunately, I cannot give them more than 2 wins. I tried. I was looking through. I was like, how can I get them another win? Like anything, because 2-15. I mean, that's a hard thing to predict, right? But like,
oh yeah.
I have them beating the Giants in week 5. Like they're going to get a win before the Giants, but I do think that they'll end up with the first overall pick. And I think that's kind of a no-brainer for most people thinking it's going to be them, the Giants, or the Browns. It's kind of the collective, consensus that I've noticed. But yeah, unfortunately, tough going for the Saints. I like Kellen Moore though too. So I think that given the right quarterback, that team could excel with Kellen Moore. I think so he's decent.
I agree, man. Yeah, my division was very similar, actually the exact same in terms of standings, a little bit different in record. Yeah, the Buccaneers are so fun to watch play football. I think it's especially exciting that now you have a first-round receiver in addition to Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Oh, and by the way, you took Jalen McMillan last year, and you stole a running back in Bucky Irving, who is absolutely incredible. Yeah, just an absolute stud. One of the better running backs in football. Kind of already cemented that last year. Took him in the 4th round last year. Not a lot of people knew about him. Impressed a ton in the preseason and then obviously during the regular season. So absolutely love to see that. Yeah, the secondary is really good there. They bring back Levante David, the heart and soul of the Buccaneers. The guy is so insanely underrated. He keeps himself in such great shape. He needs more recognition for the work that he has done as an NFL player.
Yeah.
And then of course Vita Vea right in the middle. I mean, dude, yeah, that's a mammoth of a human being, and he doesn't wear gloves, which I love. So I have the Buccaneers taking this division. I think Baker's going to light it up again, just like he did last year. Threw for 41 tuds. I mean, he's going to have himself a year. Cade Otton, stud, underrated tight end. Yeah, just a lot to be excited about if you're a Buccaneers fan. So absolutely, totally agree with you. Then I have the Falcons getting to the playoffs because this is a team that is, yeah, they were kind of in a rebuild. They haven't been back to the playoffs since they went to the Super Bowl. And they take Michael Penix Jr. And that amount of experience, like you said, total opposite of Anthony Richardson. The amount of experience that he had is invaluable for what it's going to do for him at the next level here. And you saw it in the last 3 games that he played this past year. He got better and better every single game. I think he can actually play in this league. I think he will be a good quarterback. And Drake London, what a great guy to throw the ball to. Darnell Mooney, one of the more underrated receivers. You got Ray McLeod. Bijan Robinson, just a do-it-all, all-purpose, great back, going top 3 in most fantasy drafts this day and age. And I'll tell you, he is going to be really special again this year. So, yeah, just really excited for Atlanta. It's been a while since they've had a team, and I think they can do some damage. So I have them at 10-7, making the playoffs. Finally, you go into the Carolina Panthers and the New Orleans Saints. While I think the Panthers will take a step in the right direction, I'm not sure if I'm ready to say that they're a playoff team, but they will grind and they will work their asses off to at least get in position to win games. They probably will let you down most of the time, but for the most part, I think that the Panthers, they're on the up and come. I think this is a good moment for them. They re-signed J.C. Horn. They got Trayvon Moehrig. They got some really good, decent young linebackers actually too. And DJ Wonnum's one of them. Christian Rosenboom, Trevin Wallace, also a really nice player. So to me, really excited for them. Derek Brown leading up the front. He's back. Guy's a freak of nature. Love the Panthers. I think they got some good young talent, just not really ready to be a playoff team. So it's only a matter of time. Bryce Young, comeback season, baby. And then, the Saints. Yeah, like you said, Ian, you have a quarterback competition, especially with young quarterbacks, never really a great thing. Sure, they brought back Brandon Cooks, and, they have Chris Olave still, and, Rashid Shaheed, who's a field stretcher. I'm not super impressed with what the Saints have going on. To me, it's just one of those things. And I'm actually going to go right back to the Panthers because they do officially have Hunter Renfrow listed as a starting slot receiver there. I am so happy for him. Thank God. Welcome back, Hunter Renfrow. You want to talk about a comeback player of the year? This is a candidate for it. So stay on the lookout for Hunter Renfrow. And what do you say? Let's go into the
well, real quick before the playoffs, I just want to say a big shout out to Demario Davis, another old head over there at the Saints. Forgot to mention him, but similar to Levante David, that dude, I can't believe that he's still playing the way he's playing at 36.
Unreal.
You got your playoffs up, dude. If you want to go ahead and run through.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm ready. I'm ready to tackle this. Let's do this real time. So we got the Texans going up against the Ravens, 4 versus 5 seed. Ravens, like I said, they're going to kind of go deeper into the playoffs than usual. They're going to win the games they're supposed to win. Then we got the Steelers at the Bengals. I think the Steelers are one and done here. We're going to take the Bengals with the win. Then we got Chiefs and Chargers. As much as I want to give it to the Chargers, I think I'm going to have to go with the Chiefs here.
Yeah.
So then we got the Rams and the Buccaneers. I like the Buccaneers. I think I'm with you on that, Ian. I think they have a shot to go deep in the playoffs. Packers and Eagles. As much as I want to give it to the Packers, we got to give it to the Eagles. And then Falcons and Lions. I just don't think the Falcons are experienced enough. The Lions are going to get the dub here and advance to the next round. So then we go to the divisional round, and we got Chiefs and Bengals. So the Bills somehow avoid potentially playing the Chiefs here. Let's see what happens. I'm going to give the Bengals the win here, believe it or not. Then we got the Ravens and the Bills at home. Give it to the Buffalo Bills. It's time. Then we have the Eagles and Lions. Honestly, I'm going to give it to the Eagles. Niners and Buccaneers. My heart really wants to give this matchup to the Buccaneers. I just don't know. I just don't know if I can do it, especially in San Fran. So unfortunately, There we go. This might be a boring Super Bowl matchup. I hate to say it. Bengals and Bills in the AFC Championship. Bills hosting their first AFC Championship at home in God knows how many years. Got to give it to the Buffalo Bills. You know, what are we doing? Last year in the stadium. Let's make it happen, right? Then we got Eagles and Niners. I think the Niners pulled this one off. By the way, the Super Bowl this year is in San Fran. So essentially, the Bills are going to be playing in away territory, but they finally get the monkey off their backs. Get the dub. There it is. Buffalo Bills Super Bowl champs.
Beautiful.
This is how it happens. This
Beautiful.
is how it happens, guys. I don't want to be that guy, but I'm being that guy. Last year in Highmark Stadium, we're going to make it happen. Bills beat the Niners, beat the 49ers in the Super Bowl. I'm rolling off into the sunset. It's going to be a beautiful moment.
I love that. I love that. I'd like the only thing that would stink. Actually, this is going to end up happening in both of our scenarios. Is those Bills winning the Super Bowl but not having to face Pat Mahomes, and then everybody's going to say, "Oh, but they didn't beat Pat Mahomes to do it."
But you beat Joe Burrow. So
yeah,
is that good enough?
It's something.
I don't care how you get there.
I don't care how you get there.
You beat freaking Jake Browning to get there. Doesn't matter. You know?
Exactly.
What's yours, Ian?
All right. Yeah, you can pull mine up. I got rid of mine so that I can do it live as well. I have the Bengals and the Jaguars. I think the Bengals would win that game. Oh, before I go on, I say this every year. I want to make sure I say it again. I think that I think doing regular season predictions, you could be a lot more accurate. I think playoff predictions are a complete and total crapshoot. So when I do these playoff predictions, it's very easy to just pick all of the best teams to just go and win, because typically that's what you would do, right? This team is better, I'm going to pick them to win. But I try my best when I'm making predictions like this to think of it more as a narrative thing. What I think is going to be happening at that time, what injuries might have occurred, what storylines might be going on at that point in time. Because a lot of the playoffs, that's what it's driven by. And momentum, especially going into the playoffs, is probably the most important thing. What teams are coming off a 5-game winning streak? What teams just lost 3 of their last 4 games? That stuff matters, I think, way, way, way more than regular season prowess. So I want to point that out there. So I'm going to have the Bengals taking this one. I certainly don't. I think the Jaguars, it's obviously a surprise, not something that most people are doing. So I can't see them winning a playoff game if I'm going to do that. This will be a very close game, but I think the Chiefs will probably win it. I think no matter what the situation is in the playoff time, that would probably be the most likely scenario. And then I have Ravens and Chargers.
Bully ball.
And unfortunately, I think it's going to have to be the Ravens. I just think it has to be. On the NFC side of things, even though I have the Eagles at 11-6, doesn't mean that I don't think that they're a good team. And I think they probably would beat the Lions because they're just a more balanced team overall. And I think they will be at that time in the season. I say all this stuff about not basing it off of the better teams, and I'm going to end up picking most of the better teams when it comes to the playoffs. But I think that in terms of I've said it before, I think the Bucs are going to go deep in this playoff. I really, really do. And I pick them to beat the Rams. And then, of course, in this team, it just comes down to experience. I think the Packers have actually, surprisingly, with Jordan Love, been decent in playoff games. So I would pick the Packers to win that game, go to the next week. Chiefs-Ravens would be a really fun matchup. And I'm picking the Ravens.
Love it.
To take down Patrick Mahomes and miss out on his first AFC championship ever as a starter, basically. And then I think on the other side of things, the way I view this is let's knock off one quarterback at a time, right? The Bills haven't beaten Joe Burrow in the playoffs. In fact, they got destroyed by Joe Burrow in the playoffs. Yeah. We've never gotten destroyed by the Chiefs in the playoffs. So why don't we go ahead and tackle that first? So we're going to have the Ravens and the Bills go to the AFC Championship. And then over on this side, I'm going to give it to the Bucs because I think the Bucs are I think their offense is well equipped to handle this Packers defense, which is very good. It's very balanced. I don't think that the Packers offense would be able to handle their defense. And then as far as this goes, the Niners are a nice story, big bounce back year. It has to be the Eagles. It has to be the Eagles beating the Niners. Conference championship. I love this conference championship in the NFC because it throws me back, man. It is a big old throwback. And you know what happens a lot of the times, if you look back at the old records, the Bucks win, and the Bucks are going to win here. They're going to the Super Bowl.
Except they don't have Sean King. They have Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, they actually have a competent quarterback. And then on the AFC side of things, I think Taylor's oldest time. You know,
Love
it's
that.
hard. It's hard not to be biased when you live in Buffalo, and I will be the first to tell you I'm extremely biased. But I think the Bills just have it. I think they just have the Ravens' number, and I don't really care what time of the year or season it is. I just think they're going to beat them. And then there's my Super Bowl prediction:
Hell
is the
yeah.
Bucks and
That's
Bills.
fun.
And I think the Bills will eke it out. I think it will be close, though, and I think it will be extremely close because I love to see these two quarterbacks battling it out. In fact, this is going to be my favorite regular season game of the Bills to watch. I can't wait to see them face the Bucks. I think that's going to be a friggin' shootout. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch. That would be a fun game to go to. I think that's going to be an awesome game. A lot of points, and on top of that, two quarterbacks that are going to do everything they can to win. I cannot wait to watch that game. And I hope that this is the Super Bowl matchup just so I can watch the Bills get sweet revenge because in my predictions, I have the Bills losing to the Bucks in the regular season.
Oh, man. Man. Well, there you have it, folks. That's how the Buffalo Bills are going to win the Super Bowl this year. Of course, coming from two Buffalo Bills fans, this is all very wishful thinking, but I feel like a lot of our regular season predictions are, viable. I think they're logical. I think we took a lot of time and effort. So we'd appreciate any comments that you want to leave in the comments below here. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe too if you enjoyed this video. Ian and I do this every year. This is our third year doing it, and so excited to have done it again. This is late at night. We're rubbing our eyes. We're all tired. We're trying to get through it. But man, an hour and 50 minutes in, and it feels just like it went for a couple minutes long. So you got to love it. It's so easy to ramble about this stuff. Ian, thanks again, man. Thanks for joining me tonight.
Absolutely.
We appreciate all of you that watched, and, drop your predictions below. Curious to see what everyone else thinks. And if they actually believe that the Buffalo Bills can win the Super Bowl this year, that'd be fun to hear. Make sure you sound off in the comments, and be sure not to miss us during the regular season. Cause guess what? It comes up in about 2 days here. Not even, we got one full day left.
That's it.
It's going to be amazing, man. I just can't wait. But
I know. Yeah.
Ian, any closing thoughts?
No, hey, look, we nailed it. I'll see you at the Super Bowl party, dude.
Love it. Can't wait for the parade. It's going to be a blast. Well, thank you to all who watched. We appreciate you. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, as I mentioned. And as always, go Bills.
Go Bills.